So I think the majority of gamers and analysts believe that Nintendo's next system will come out sometime this year. Well, it looks like a game industry consultant / economist believes so too, and he has some predictions. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And this is coming to us from GameIndustry.biz, and this is Serkan Toto, who's an analyst and the CEO of Catan Games. And this is coming from an analyst predictions for 2024 in the gaming industry, and I'll have a link to that whole article down below, just in case you want to check out some of the other predictions. But the part that I want to look at here is the predictions for what they call, quote, the Switch 2. And we'll just read here from the article, Switch 2 will come and be $400. The time is finally here for a Switch successor, even though I can say a Pro model actually did exist and certain developers were already working with the dev kit. I believe the next hardware will drop next year for $400. There's a high chance that games will cost more too, $70. The next system will also likely be an iteration rather than a revolution. Nintendo might add some bells and whistles to the device, but it will be similar to the current Switch. And because there is Pokemon, and Pokemon is associated with handheld gaming, there is no way on earth Nintendo will drop the portability feature for their next big thing. So let's just kind of go through and break down some of the predictions here. First, with a little bit of the backstory on the Pro model. I've heard similar stories that yes, there was a Pro model, but then it got canceled. And some of that may have been because of all the shortages and distribution issues we had back in like 2021 and 2022. And now the first prediction here that the Switch 2 or Switch Next or whatever you're going to call it is going to drop for $400. Now that doesn't sound unreasonable to me. I think some of that may depend on if we get two different SKUs. I'm really hoping that we might get a larger screen SKU, that Pro model that we were supposed to get with the Switch 1. It would definitely benefit someone like me with a little bit older eyes to be able to see the screen a bit better on some of these smaller text RPGs. Yes, I had a very difficult time trying to play Octopath Traveler 2 in handheld mode. My eyes aren't what they were 20 years ago. So I could see if there are two SKUs, a base unit being $400, but I think that if they did have a Pro model with either an OLED or larger screen, it'll be a bit more expensive. Now, I don't have any reason to believe that there'll be two different SKUs. I don't think there's been any type of leaks or analysts predicting that. That's just a hope for on my part. Now, as far as the games going to $70, I think that's pretty much a given. We've already seen Tears of the Kingdom come out at $70, and it had no problem selling, so I think the obvious next jump is to move to $70 for the next system when it comes out later this year. Now, they're also predicting that the next system will be an iteration rather than a revolution. That definitely sounds on point. We had some reports back, I believe in November, about NVIDIA developing the Tegra T239 that was going to be inside of the next Switch. Now, there is no guarantee that it will be the T239 that will be in the next Switch, but even if it's not, I have a feeling it'll be something pretty comparable. And we've had videos from like Digital Foundry who kind of tried to emulate what you would see in a game using the specs of the T239. And it did seem to be kind of on par with what you would see from, say, a PlayStation 4. And if it includes, say, DLSS 3, as has been predicted, then I think you might see a little bit better quality than you would see on a PlayStation 4. Although it's a possibility it might be at lower resolutions, especially if you're playing handheld. You don't really need like 4K handheld. Now, they also said in the article that Nintendo might add some bells and whistles to the device, but it'd be similar to the current Switch. So I'm thinking maybe by bells and whistles, they may be talking about the interface. There's definitely been a lot of grumbling over the past 7 years about how the Switch only has 2 themes, basically light and dark, and you can't like set a wallpaper or even adjust the icon sizes or number of rows. And I think that's in order to keep the interface as low overhead as possible. But this new system will probably have some more RAM, so they'd probably be able to gloss it up a bit. It also would be nice if Nintendo would make a bit of an effort to try to get things like Netflix and some other streaming services available on the system, especially if it's handheld. But the current Switch doesn't have any problem selling without those features, so I don't know if they'll be inclined to move too quickly on that. And then finally, they predict that the Switch 2 will be handheld again, and I think that's pretty much a given considering everything that we've seen coming out so far, especially with information like it using a Tegra mobile processor. Now, one prediction that was not explicitly spelled out here is backward compatibility. However, if the system is going to be more of an iteration rather than a revolution, it seems to me like backward compatibility would fit right in. Nintendo has had a history, especially in their handheld markets, of at least adding backward compatibility to the previous generation. And even with their home consoles, the Wii U had backward compatibility with the Wii and the Wii with the GameCube. And obviously they had to drop backward compatibility with the Switch because they abandoned optical disc format. But let me know what you think. Do you believe that the Switch will be more of an iteration rather than revolution? Do you think that $400 sounds about right? And do you think that all the games will just default to $70, at least for those top tier titled games? Drop your comment below and let me know. And if you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so. It really does help the channel out quite a bit. I want to thank you for watching and be good.